What's up? Notre Dame. Or no, they don't. No, they can't. No, they won't. 30-3. They're supposed to be the third best team in the country. Supposed to be the third best team in the country. Are you kidding me? 30-3. Ridiculous. That right there shows exactly why you shouldn't be putting teams that, oh, they deserve to be in the college football. No, because they get killed when they get in here and they actually play somebody. I said it in my other videos. It was going to be a killing, and it is. The pipes are calling. There's going to be a lot of things going. Notre Dame never should have been there. That's exactly right. And anybody that said Notre Dame was the number three team in the country has no freaking clue about anything about college football and no reason to be there. And Clemson just showed you why. Clemson was probably the most excited team in the country besides Alabama when they found out that they was going to put Notre Dame and Oklahoma in the college football playoffs, and they wasn't going to put the dogs in there because they didn't want to play them. Hate to tell you like it is. Yeah, UCF's the real champs again. What's going on, Nicholas? This right here. This right here is what's wrong with the college football playoff committee. I ain't gonna say I hope Alabama loses. I don't think Alabama's gonna lose even if I hope for it, but I think that Alabama's gonna win that game, not to the standard that Clemson did. Clemson beat the brakes off them from the start to the finish. The second stringers, I'll put it to you this way. Notre Dame turned the ball over for as many points as they had. And it was one of those freaking strips that Clemson had that didn't get called correctly because it was the end of the third quarter and it was rule forward progress or some BS. Clemson stripped that ball out. Should have been Clemson's ball. Yeah, I hope the Alabama-Oklahoma game is at least more fun to watch. Yeah, Chase Bryce was running all over folks. They had cheerleaders, water boys, fans from the stands, kids from the student section was running the ball down the field on Notre Dame. Well, nobody's stopping them.
In hindsight, how has that paid off for your team now?
And here's Dabo over here. Good Lord. I mean, you know, he's got to try and act like this was a hard-fought victory, and he knows it wasn't. They killed them all game. Absolutely demolished them. Mollywopped them, whooped them, beat them, spanked them, skull drug them, however you want to say it. Yeah, Alabama and Clemson embarrassed Notre Dame. Absolutely. And Notre Dame has no business in here. And see, this right here is the exact reason why Notre Dame will not make their football team join the ACC conference. Because they know when they play real teams, they're going to get skull drugged. They're hoping they can sneak their way into the college football playoff and try to get past a game or two and make themselves look good. No, this right here is exactly why they won't join the conference. Gage, man, yeah, dude, number 34. You ain't got to do that, man. You ain't got to get that for me, man. Dude, right here, this looks like, what's his name? Owen Wilson's illegitimate son.
No, he straight up looks like Floyd.
Yeah, Floyd from Dazed and Confused. Notre Dame is overrated. I'm laughing out loud. Never should have been in college football playoffs. Oklahoma should have made it there, and either Georgia should have. Yeah, absolutely. This right here is why the whole college football playoff needs to get their stuff figured out. The committee. Who would I choose over Notre Dame? And I can't choose Georgia. Honestly, I'd even put LSU in there. I'd have put LSU in there over Notre Dame. They'd have played a better game than that. They're a better match for Clemson than Notre Dame is. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, they only beat Vandy by 5. They squeaked by like almost every one of their games. You know, they want to talk about that they're a good team. Or no, you're not. You're terrible. You got lucky. You played okay football. Yeah, but you didn't demolish anybody. You didn't kill anybody. I mean, Clemson has scored 50 points or more in their last 5 games. Sorry, my chat thing got out of place. Dogs should have got in at number 4. I agree. Not the first blowout in the playoffs. Nope. Yeah, UCF would have done a better job. Angry Grandma says, let's go Tigers. I'm good with that. UGA shouldn't lose to LSU. They would have. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not because of the way that the college football playoff committee picks people. I don't know if even if we would have beat LSU if they'd put us in. He said, Tennessee, listen what the general will tell you now. Man, you gonna have Uncle Lou mad at me for giving all his lines on here. LSU's better than Clemson. I don't know if they're better than Clemson, but I'd love to see that game. How do you have UC? Who do I have? UCF versus LSU? LSU. UCF is an okay team. They're not awesome though. Yeah, UCF versus Notre Dame would be a better game. Uncle Lou's going to lose his mind, dude. I guarantee you, Kyle Busch. I like Joey Logano, man. I like the young guys. Thing is, if there's bad house, Notre Dame even ranked 3 in the country, they're terrible. I'll tell you, the reason that they're ranked is because there is this misconception that having no losses is important. You can have a team who is, yeah, he's still hugging a box. You can have, now think about it logically. Now it's supposed to be it's supposed to be the 4 best teams in the country. If you end up playing the number 1 team and you lose, and you're playing a number 2 team and you lose, and you mollywop everybody else in the country, doesn't that legitimately make you number 3, but you got 2 losses? Just rough math. Georgia got robbed. Oh yeah, Notre Dame and Michigan are so overrated. I agree. No, look at the Irish. My wife was telling me that apparently some bald eagle landed on one of the Irish players before the game started. Yeah, we should have been there. Cowboy Show Network. I absolutely agree. Tired of blowouts, college football playoffs. Well, that's what you're going to get when they put these deserving teams in. It shouldn't be anything about blame Kirby on 4th and 11. That wasn't what cost us that game. That was one of the things that hurt us, but that ain't what really cost us the game. What cost us that game is that our offensive coordinator couldn't make the adjustments to Alabama's defense and keep the ball moving. Do you think UCF should be playing Georgia instead of us playing Texas, or do you think we should be a rematch for LSU? Right. Sorry, I missed that. Do I think UC should be playing Georgia? Here's the thing about playing teams like UCF. If you go in there and you beat the brakes off of them, you don't get really any credit because they say, oh, of course, they were imposters, they were overrated, so they don't get any credit. You don't get any credit. And then if it's a tight game, you kind of get kicked in the nuts for it, even if you win. And if you lose, then it's really bad. Notre Dame is independent privileges and was an ACC champion. What did I say? This was easily an ACC championship game. It should have been played a month ago. Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, Notre Dame is in the ACC in every other sport they have except football. And they tried to join the Big Ten or the Big 12 back whenever ago, and they didn't want to play by the rules of the Big Ten or the Big 12. So they told them, it's like, if you want to join our conference, you got to play by our rules. And Notre Dame didn't want to do that, so they've been independent ever since. And they won't go to a conference because they know if they do, they're absolutely going to get shut out of the college football playoffs. That's just the way it's going to go. Bama 50-55, Oklahoma 31. That's probably close. All that being said, about today is Notre Dame. Nick Savannah won a 4 Heisman Trophy winner. Yep. Saban. Yep. Bama versus OU is going to be a good game. Yep. It was Big Ten. Yeah, it was Big Ten. You're right, Gage. Notre Dame was overrated this year as well in 2012. Notre Dame is overranked every year. And I don't care if they're ranked second to last in the country. They're overranked in my opinion because they get this special treatment. They can schedule all these hard teams. Look, when they schedule these teams, they don't know how strong these teams are going to be. So to me, that lends no credit. Plus the fact that you get to skip a championship game means you get to not have to worry about hurting players like Tua got hurt in the SEC championship game. And ended up having, if they hadn't had a 5-star quarterback on the backup, who knows how that game would have turned out. So the very fact to me that you get to skip that is huge. Can't wait for UGA at home against Notre Dame next season. Oh, the dogs are going. Oh my goodness. We don't whoop them. We whooped them at their own house. 70% of that stadium was Georgia fans. What do you think it's going to be like at Athens? Does Notre Dame even have a fight for a conference championship? No, they don't. And if you put them in an ACC, even if you put them in the ACC, they ain't going to make the championship. Notre Dame is a waste of good talent. Anybody that goes to Notre Dame it must be going there for the education because football program's terrible. Yeah, Georgia took over that stadium. We renamed that stadium Sanford Stadium North. That's our north facility. I mean, this is just a clear indication that the College Football Playoff Committee does not put the teams in that should be in. And this is like the second or third year, some crap like not in a row, but this is like second or third year that they put a team in from the Big 10 or the Big 12 just because it was from that conference and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what should have happened. What should happen is you put the 4 best teams in. I don't care how many damn losses they got. I mean, if you look at a team and they pass the eyeball test, you got to put them in. They didn't have a problem putting in Alabama last year, and they had a bad loss to Auburn. But they put them in, and they went in and won the national championship. And that proves to me that just because you have a bad loss somewhere in your season doesn't mean that you're a terrible team. It just means you had a bad game. And furthermore, just because you go undefeated doesn't mean you're a good team. And Notre Dame just proved it. Let's see. Michigan win is looking pretty bad too. Yeah. I mean, there's no argument for them being there. What are my thoughts on expanding the college football playoff to 8? It should have happened the first year we had the college football playoff. Did I forget about 4th and 11 from Kirby Rick? No. And here's why. You ready? Because we played Alabama down to the wire, and Mark Rick got curb stomped 35-3. So no, I'm good with it. Top 4 team, absolutely. Do you think we should have lost to LSU? I mean, every team can have a bad game here and there. I mean, Alabama last year lost to Auburn. I mean, was it the year before last or last year, Clemson lost to Syracuse. I mean, you can have a bad game here and there. It doesn't mean you're a bad team. You just had a bad game. Personally, I think they should expand the college football playoff to 8 teams. They should. And if you expand it to 8 teams, you make a lot more of these college bowl games more important. You won't have players dropping out of these games, not playing. You know, it'll mean something to them. It'll mean something to the college football playoff committee to see these guys. You know, you'll get a much better taste of what kind of caliber teams you got. Georgia should have been in the playoffs, and he's a Bama fan. Yeah, I mean, Sarah. Michigan win has no value after Michigan's last 2 losses. And see, that's the thing. When you get out here and you watch these teams play, when they play against other talented teams at the end of the year, after everybody's been beat on and beat up, you get an idea of what you really have in those teams. Florida, LSU, and Auburn could beat Notre Dame and Oklahoma. Yeah, absolutely. Look at how bad Auburn demolished Purdue. And look how close some of these other teams played Purdue in that conference. There's just no excuse to put Notre Dame in the college football playoffs, and every one of them college football playoff committee guys that picked Notre Dame to be in ought to be slapped. Just because you're 12-0 doesn't mean spit. And if it does, then why did y'all keep UCF out last year? So yeah, the committee needs some work. You know, if we expanded it to 8 games or whatever. Do I think UGA will beat Texas? Yeah, UGA will beat Texas. It probably won't be in the same dramatic fashion that you just saw Clemson beat Nobody Dane. But what you'll see is that it's going to be a game of probably where Texas gets maybe 17 points, but Georgia's going to score at will. Georgia's strength is a running game. Texas's weakness is stopping the run game. Texas's passing game is its strong suit. Georgia's defense, the best part of Georgia's defense is defending against the pass game. I mean, so yeah, it's gonna be tough. It depends on who shows up. It does. Let's see. Terrible Cleveland Browns. Terrible. This year cut as well. Notre Dame almost beat Georgia in 17. Yeah, they almost did. But Georgia almost beat Alabama in the national championship, so you see how much that's worth. Big 12 pass happy, no defense. That's true. South Bend. It's South Bend. What are you looking at, woman? Hold on. What you couldn't do a year ago. What is that? No better. Oh, okay. Let me get down to the bottom here. Yeah, Georgia's gonna tear them up, and the biggest thing is that Georgia's going to come out there absolutely furious, especially after having watched this game and seeing how piss-poor performance that Notre Dame put on. They're going to go out there in dramatic fashion, and they're going to show the College Football Playoff Committee how big of a mistake they made. I mean, there's several Alabama fans that have flat out told me they would rather play anybody except us again. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, it's gonna be a good game once they get to Clemson and Alabama, and I don't know who's gonna win between those two. I haven't really sat down and looked at the numbers, but if there was times tonight whenever Clemson struggled with Notre Dame's defense, and if they struggle with Notre Dame's defense, they're gonna have a real hard time with Alabama's. Georgia beat the brakes off them. Hank Hills are going down. How can you, Sartre, Camus, how can you stop Oklahoma's offense? I don't think that's really that big of a concern. I think that if the cornerbacks are fast enough at, yeah. If the backs at Georgia are fast enough to keep up with the receivers and cover them well enough that we were able to play ball with them, I don't think that and this year's Alabama team is better than they were last year, so I don't think he's going to be worried up. Georgia is scary. Alabama's definitely got some talent. The biggest advantage I think that Alabama had against Georgia was the fact that Jalen Hurts had stood on that sideline all dad blame year long, was waiting on his moment to vindicate himself. And Tua happened to come out of that game at the right time, and he prepped, he prepared, he was ready to go. He stood there, he knew the system, he knew the play schemes, and he stepped in and he absolutely executed. Georgia wasn't ready for it. So, I mean, to me, that was the best thing that happened in that game, was that even though we lost, it was that Jalen Hurts was vindicated. Likes to better establish the run and keep the guy off the field as much as possible. We'll see what happens. Next year, Georgia will have the #1 defense in college football, and you got to think our 5-star freshman defense didn't get used in the college football level until the end of the year. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, but we've got some work to do. When Georgia and Alabama play next year regular season with the SEC, I want to say I think it's 2021 or 2022. And that game, I think, will actually be in Alabama. Auburn shut down Purdue's passing game. I don't know if you would call it a passing game or opposing game because it sucked. But they put some big numbers up against OSU and Mizzou. Their defense is legit. We'll see what happens. I know that Alabama's not taking that game lightly. They're not going to take this game lightly, and they're going to go out here and just – they're really going to put their foot on the gas pedal from the very start. My freaking chat thing won't scroll properly, so I can't keep up. Offense and defense will be dominant next year. We're losing DeAndre Baker. I think he's going into the draft. That's why he's not playing in the Sugar Bowl. We're losing Justin Fields. Not concerned about that. Brett, why does Nick Rat Poison Saban own Georgia in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, sir? You know what? I'll tell you like this, Dennis. I wouldn't say he owns us. I would say he does a good job of barely beating us. And there's a big difference between the two. Yeah, Mary, I agree with you. The committee completely got it all wrong. It's taking you guys 2 5-star quarterbacks in both games to beat us. So, I mean, I would say that that's owning us. Man, we got to play Clemson again. Yeah. And by the way, we made you guys trail longer than you had trailed the entire season combined to any other team. So, I would say that's representative of a stout team. We need to end that 10-year drought against Bama. Well, about 8 of those years is because of Mark Richt. And Mark Richt is still Mark Richting down in Miami. And there, I got Miami fans that are saying that, oh my goodness, why didn't we listen to you guys? We tried to tell y'all. We tried to tell all y'all, you do not want Mark Richt, but if you want him, go ahead and take him. He's a great youth pastor, but he is a terrible coach when it comes down to the wire. His record against top 15 teams is like 3-17. He sucks when it comes to playing the big games. Got into a bowl game against Wisconsin. I don't even think Wisconsin was ranked. He got blew out. The blowout for Wisconsin and Miami was worse than the blowout between Clemson and Notre Dame. That's how bad it was. I'm just glad it doesn't work for us anymore. Clemson put Notre Dame in the cross. Did he say in the cross face? Hold on, I got to back that up. Put him in the. He said put him in the cross face. A cross face for those of you who don't know is a wrestling term where you take somebody's hand and you crank their head all the way around till they let go or till they move. Oh, what's good, Aaron? What's good? Alex says, Smart is a blessing in this program, and the Natty is coming. Absolutely. He keeps recruiting like he does. There's going to be no doubt. Georgia's going to have so much talent on the field. There's just – little man's waking up. Losing DeAndre Baker and Jonathan Ledbetter. We're going to have some good recruits coming in. Yep. He's building a hell of a program. And the good thing is that Kirby Smart does such a good job recruiting the players. Even though Georgia right now is currently ranked number 2 in the recruiting class, the only reason that we're ranked number 2 in the recruiting class is because we don't have as many scholarships to give out. South Carolina. Alabama has more scholarships to hand out, so they have an overall larger number, but our average per is about the same. Georgia currently has 5 5-stars and maybe picking up another one, and that'll make us 6 5-stars to this new recruiting cycle, and all the rest of them, with the exception of 2 guys, are 3-stars. All the other ones are 4-stars, except for like 2 guys, which are 3-stars. Let me say that right. So Alabama only has 2 5-stars that they've signed this year. So even though the numbers may look better on the board, and you say they got the number 1 recruiting class, I would much rather take 5 5-stars than just take 2 5-stars. And one of the 4-stars that we have is he's like 4 100,000ths of a point away from being a 5-star, so he's right there at it. Will Campbell hurt us like he did all the year against Texas wide receivers? I don't think so. How much does Kirby Smart pay for Georgia recruits? I don't know, Dennis, but Kirby Smart's players aren't getting suspended for unknown reasons for indefinite periods of time, so I don't know what to tell you. Kirby's a beast. 5 5-stars will help, absolutely. Do me a favor, guys. If you're still on here, go ahead and hit the thumbs up because it helps the metric, helps push the numbers up. I really appreciate that. But I think we're fishing to get this game started. I'm going to go ahead and mix me a drink. I probably will do a halftime report for this, just kind of go through things because there's going to be a lot to go through. Obtuse One, it's a great name. That's a great screen name. Says, Kirby had been with Nick since Nick was at LSU. He's a fantastic coach. Miles Line had accomplished more in the first few years with Auburn. Yep. Kirby's a great coach. Nick Saban's obviously a better coach. Gus Malzahn's is a good coach, and I think that's about as accurate as you can structure it. But if you want to look at from the starting point moving up, Kirby Smart has started at a much higher level than Nick Saban did, but he just doesn't have all of the accolades so far. Old Saint Nick. Kirby Smart does not pay for recruits. He's great at his job. That's true. What Kirby Smart does is Kirby Smart hires guys that know how to recruit and puts them on his team, and he lets them go do their job. You always get a thumbs up from me. Thanks, Mary. I really appreciate it. And then thanks for letting me know you guys appreciate the content. Kentucky going to get that Penn State. It's on New Year's, big dog. I believe so. Well, guys, my phone's dying. Game's about to start. I need to make myself a drink. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be an emotional night. I look forward to seeing you guys at halftime, and we'll see you guys soon. And as always, God bless, and go Dogs.